Hey goalies, this is Cam from the Hockey Shop here. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at the Padskinz. They come in a variety of different colors. We can go all the way from lime green all the way to a Swedish yellow. Today we're just going to be specifically looking at lime green and royal blue. We're going to be applying this today to our Bauer pad right here, and it's going to turn out pretty nice. Alrighty guys, so to start off, obviously got our Padskinz package here. What we have included, Padskinz material, our wax tracing paper, and also our instructions. So today, what we're going to do specifically is this graphic right along the front face of the pad in royal blue, and then we're also going to add lime green to these two graphics here. It's great to start out and have an idea of exactly what you're going to want to do instead of opening up and wasting a whole bunch of tracing paper. Hey guys, as you can see, we got everything already laid out here in front of us to get going here. So we're going to start off right away. The instructions actually say to use a masking tape to be able to hold down the actual wax paper on the pad. Today we're going to use sock tape. It's a Hockey Shop. We got lots of sock tape. So what we're going to do, we'll lay this out gently along the pad here. I'm going to throw some tape up at the top. You want to make sure it sits nice and flush right against the pad. We don't want any bumps, so your graphic's going to turn out nice. So now that I got the wax paper sitting flush against the pad, I'm going to start beginning to trace out with a pencil here. You don't want to use anything with too sharp of a tip or you're actually going to poke through the wax paper here, okay? So gently going to go across this top graphic up here. I'm going to start off at the top. Alright, so as you can see, we got our graphics all the way traced out. So we're going to go ahead and remove the wax paper off the pad. Alrighty guys, now that we've removed this fully from the pad, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut a ½ inch outside of the actual graphic that I've traced. You want to give yourself a little bit of extra leeway just in case you make some mistakes. Remember, you can always remove material, you can't add it, okay? So what I'm going to do, start cutting in here. And really roughly just getting some extra space between me and that actual graphic design. Alright, now that we have our graphics cut out of the actual tracing paper, we've actually taped them down onto the Padskinz material. You want to make sure your lines are nice and close against. You want to maximize the amount of material that you have. Especially if you go a little bit wider lines, you're going to waste a lot of the actual Padskinz material. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly cut around the outside. Like I said, we want to make sure that we maximize the material. You can always remove and fine-tune your graphic after you have it cut out, but you can't add material back on. So that's why I want to make sure definitely cut around the outside of the line, not on the inside, okay? If it's available, you can also use a hobby knife and an actual cutting board along. It's a little bit quicker and you can get a little bit better lines with it as opposed to the scissors. Alright, now that we have our graphics all cut down, it's time to apply them actually to our pad. We just want to make sure that the pad's nice and clean. Obviously this pad's brand new, so it's completely clean, especially if you have an older pad. It's marked up with puck marks or could have stickiness, frost beer leaders. You might have spilled a couple beers on your pads. We want to make sure it's nice and clean so it's going to stick very nicely, okay? So what we're going to do is get in there, peel back the backing, line it up nice and flush. And fill in. Now I'm just pushing out to make sure that there's no air underneath the sticker. And you're set. Alright, now you can see we've got our two lime green graphics on. One thing we want to touch on really quickly here, we see we have a boot break, especially we want to make sure we cut along there so we can separate the two graphics. It's going to go on a little bit cleaner. So as you can see, this one's an inlay graphic. Easier to cut along the sides, and it's definitely easier to sit up a little bit flusher. Once you get the actual Padskin peeled off and setting it into the actual inlay, it's a little bit easier to push in to the actual corners of the graphic, so it gives you a little bit of leeway in terms of mistake room. Once we get out to, for example, an overlay graphic, those ones a little bit tougher because there's a little bit more freehand. You definitely want to make sure your cuts are a little bit finer, as that will show up a little bit. This graphic right here, being a little bit of the hybrid of the both, this lineup will be a little bit easier as compared to that overhang. I let a little bit of overhang so it can show some of the stitching. Right, so we're going to start from the top here. What I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm pulling nice and tight to have lots of tension, so it keeps on stretching the actual Padskin material a little bit. It's making it a little bit easier to slide in. Alright. As you can see, I have a little bit of extra here, and that's just from actually stretching material. It is a little bit, it does have stretch to it, and that again helps to cover up some of those mistakes on that side. So what I'll do here is I'll quickly snip off that. So here we are with the finished product. You can see before, after. Turned out quite nice. A couple notes with this: you want to make sure you leave the pad for 24 hours so that the adhesive backing can stick and adhere to the pad. Also too, when it comes to actually removing the material, you just want to make sure when you pull off, and especially on a white pad, it will leave a little bit of residue. That's easy to clean off with just a quick magic eraser. Remember, I'm not the most artistic person, and I was able to do this. You can do it too.